Hello everyone, I am Dr. Cassidy, and today I'm going to walk through some at-home and in-office techniques if your babe is struggling with crawling. So crawling typically happens 7 to 9 months, somewhere in that timeline. And in order to get your babe there are certain milestones that are essential to hit. So in order to crawl, we need to be able to sit independently. In order to sit independently, right, we need that core strength to keep us upright. But sitting actually helps us develop our hip joints and how they are molded or shaped. So that independent sitting and the correct type of independent sitting is going to be absolutely essential before your babe starts to crawl. So that's where I want to start. If your babe is struggling to sit, you can help them in a variety of ways, but focus on this Z style sit. I call it a Z sit, a side sit. You have one leg bent in front, one leg bent in back. It's going to help develop those hip joints, that pelvic mobility and hip interplay, a lot better than if your child is preferring to sit in a W. Now the W sit isn't always inherently bad, but when it is the preferred sitting pattern, that contributes to an internal rotation of your thigh bone, which affects your knees, your ankles, and even your foot positioning. So, great place to start. If you need more tips on how to help your babe sit, go back and watch our videos on that. We have a bunch of in-office and home techniques for you on that. But without further ado, for crawling, we want babe to have both the upper and lower body strength to hold their body into a tabletop. So what does this require? It requires them to be able to weight bear through the arms and through the knees. Some babes will choose to army crawl, right? They'll kind of do one of these, inchworm crawl. When that's typically happening, it's due to tightness in the hips, right? Okay. If we are only crawling on our forearms, doing one of these, or moving one arm to crawl us along, that's gonna be more of that upper body shoulder girdle tightness. So in order to help babe, I love using a Boppy, or you can even use your leg. So on the Boppy, you can position babe over the Boppy, encourage them to weight bear through their arms, and then of course it's a little bit difficult to show on just a doll, but you can see I am bending at the knees, letting babe fall over the Boppy so they have support in their core. They don't have to use a ton of core strength here, but then they can use their arms and they can move their arms, right? So when we crawl, we shift our weight from one side to another. We do, right, left, right. Our legs and our arms are moving in coordination, but opposite of each other. It's how your right and left sides of your brain can interconnect. It's how the right and left sides of your body get coordinated with one another. So skipping crawling is something that we would love to avoid, right? Crawling is an incredibly important milestone. There is no other movement pattern in babe's first year of life that is going to get them that side to side, left and right type coordination. So if you don't have a Boppy, you can do a similar thing, but over your leg. So again, I'm sitting in a Z sit. If you're not, you should, because it's actually going to save you. It's going to save your low back and your pelvis when you're on the ground with babe. But you can use the leg similar to the Boppy. Let babe drape over your leg, bend those knees, encourage them to use their arms to support themselves. And then you can have toys out front here to encourage them to reach and play. You can support them right at the knees. You can support them at the core. If you're noticing that they're giving a lot of weight, that torso is dropping onto your leg, that is also a sign that we might need to work on some core strength. And back to this side set, back to this seated position, this is going to build your babe's core strength. So we're going to just briefly go over how to get your babe into that position. That way you can help them. So you simply bend one of their knees in the front, similar to how mine is sitting here. Now, to get their other knee back, you grab at the knee, you lean them over, you twist, 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 and you put it down. You're gonna notice if the hips are tight, which a lot of babes they are, especially if they're constipated, gassy, struggling with sitting, struggling with crawling. You're gonna notice one side, one hip, maybe even both hips are a little tight. This back hip is not going to sit flat. It's going to be difficult to get your babe into this side sitting position, specifically with the back leg. That's how you know that hip is tight. Okay, so at-home stretches and techniques, even more so, it's going to be to stretch the hips and mobilize. So one of our favorite hip stretches is when we find those pelvic bones, right? We do a knife edge is what we call it. You can make a C with your hand, gently place it right next to that pelvic bone, and you're gonna take a bent knee up, out, and around. So you go up, out, and around. You'll get a ton of pelvic mobility here. If babe is fussing, crying, seeming not to like it, lighten up. You can even not use pressure of your hand and simply take that hip up and out. Kind of like a bicycle, but we want to go up with the knee, out and around. Get that full rotation into this stretch. Another option would be a sacral pump. You've seen this in our gas and constipation videos because it really gets things moving in there, but it's actually a pelvic mobility technique. So grab that sacrum in a football hold, bend back and forth, wiggle around, side to side, up and down. That is going to also help loosen those hips and that pelvic girdle. For the upper body, for the arms, if you're noticing that your babe is not wanting to weight bear through those arms or not transfer that weight, using that Boppy, using this technique where you're over the legs, guiding them at their shoulders will help build their strength. The stretch you can do at home for this, you'll simply grab at the elbow with your babe seated on your lap, take the arm over, gently stretching, and then you're gonna take the arm up. I always like to tell kids, we're gonna stretch over and then we're gonna go up with the party arm, right? Go party arms, boop, boop. So if you're noticing your babe is tight or resisting in any direction, jiggling, shaking, a vibratory sensation might help loosen that area up. In clinic, treatment is going to look kind of like play, right? We're going to go through some of these techniques, stretches, exercises. We're going to encourage babe to use their core by doing this over the leg technique, and then we're obviously going to adjust. So adjusting through the pelvis, the low back, the upper back, and mobilizing those shoulder points will help your babe. Not to mention that crawling is a major milestone leap, right? Your nervous system has to grow, develop, and mature through your first year, and crawling is a difficult thing. So it's not uncommon that other places along their spine are sensing that stress, quote unquote, that tension, and we will address that too. If you are looking for more at-home techniques, please check out our playlist, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me, and can't wait for next week.